Hi there and welcome, and thank you for joining me for this video as we talk about what form of government does St. Thomas Aquinas think was the best and most suitable for governing a nation, a people, and you might be a little surprised by his conclusion. And I will tell you that right off the bat that the teaching that I'm going to share with you in this video doesn't come from the Summa Theologia. This site is almost exclusively dedicated to the Summa Theologia, but this actually comes from a different teaching of St. Thomas Aquinas, and it's a book that he wrote called De Regno, on kingship, and he actually dedicated it to a king, and it was given to him as a gift, and in it Thomas was explaining what he thought was the best form of government and also why he thought that was the case. And so, living in the United States as I do, we have been really brought up to believe that the Democratic Republic is the best form of government, and it's worked pretty well over the last 200 years or so. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, we got to admit that it's showing some cracks. And there's a lot of division and there's a lot of dissension in this country, and everything seems to be kind of falling apart. And so is there another form of government that might work? Well, watch this video and see if you agree with St. Thomas Aquinas that maybe we need to consider another form of government. Okay, so I'll just kind of throw that out there. Of course, there are many different kinds of government, like aristocracies. And of course, communism is a form of government, but that probably didn't exist like we know it to now, because Marx and Engels and Stalin and these figures all came centuries after St. Thomas Aquinas. So what did St. Thomas Aquinas say was the best form of government? Well, he believed it was a good old-fashioned monarchy. That's right, a king, one-man rule. And in the course of this video, I'll explain why St. Thomas Aquinas believed this and also what he thought was the making of the perfect king. What were the attributes of that perfect king who would rule over a people on his own? First of all, in the first chapter of De Regno, he talks about people living together must be ruled responsibly. And he says, in all things which are ordered towards an end, wherein this or that course may be adopted, some directive principle is needed through which the due end may be reached by the most direct route. Now, this is very classic Aristotelian Thomistic philosophy, where all things are directed to their end, ultimately by God, but God will use secondary instruments and secondary causes, which means he allows us to also direct things to an end. And this is where government comes in, and this is why ultimately he thinks a monarch or a king is the best form of government. All right, he compares it to a captain of a ship. Okay, I'll explain it a little bit more in a moment, but one captain guiding one ship to its final end is the way that kind of makes sense with ships and also with government as well. He, in chapter 2, talks about the different kinds of rule, and he ranks them from worst to best. Okay, now, among the three worst form of governments, he said the very worst of all is a tyrant. Okay, this is one man who doesn't have the best interest in the people that he's governing. He is selfish, and he's basically looking out for himself and not the people that he's governing. Okay, so that's the worst case scenario. The next worst is an oligarchy, and that's where you have a small group of elites, people that don't have the best interest of the people that they're ruling over. And then a democracy, interestingly enough, where he said is basically just a whole bunch of people acting as a tyrant and working against the will of the people. And then on the positive end, you have a polity, which is a lot of people that have goodwill, still not the best form of government, but it's better than a democracy. Aristocracy is a small group of people that are well-intentioned and have justice in mind. But the best of all is a monarchy, a king, okay? One man, one ruler ruling over a people. Now, why not many people? Why not an aristocracy? Why not a democracy or a polity? Thomas says, furthermore, it is evident that several persons could by no means preserve the stability of the community if they totally disagreed. For union is necessary among them if they are to rule at all. Several men, for instance, could not pull a ship in one direction unless joined together in some fashion. Okay, that's why you need one captain and not 4 captains or 1,000 captains. You need one man directing the ship to its final destination. Okay, that's the argument here. And I think we have to agree that in our culture today, we see a lot of dissension, we see a lot of disagreement. We've got the balance of powers and checks and balances, but is it working? Well, the jury is still out, I think, as far as our current form of government. Okay, so how do we ensure that a king doesn't fall into tyranny? Now, of course, we'll go into some of the qualities of a king here in a moment, but interestingly, Thomas puts a lot of the burden on the people themselves. He says that when the people fall into sin, they basically ask for a dictator or a tyrant. Okay, it's their fault in a sense. He said, but to deserve to secure this benefit from God, meaning a good, just king, the people must desist from sin. For it is by divine permission that wicked men receive power to rule as a punishment for sin. As the Lord says by the prophet Hosea, I will give you a king in my wrath. And it is said in Job that he makes a man that is a hypocrite to reign for the sins of the people. Sin must therefore be done away with in order that the scourge of tyrants may cease. Okay, so if you want a good leader, in Thomas's estimation, it should be one man, one king, one monarch. Well, you can pray and you can hope, but you also have an obligation as a people to not be a sinful people, because then you get what you deserve. You get the tyrant that you deserve. All right, so what are the suitable rewards for a king? Okay, let's say you have a good king, and what is it that he should be rewarded with? Well, Thomas says most people desire honor and glory. Okay, that's a good thing. Most of us, we like to be honored, we like to receive glory, we like to have temporal benefits for the good things we do. But Thomas says it is the mark of a virtuous and brave soul to despise glory as he despises life for justice's sake, whence the strange thing results that glory ensues from virtuous acts, and out of virtue glory itself is despised. Okay, so a king, a good king, a just king, a holy king should not want honor, should not want glory, and also should not want the temporal goods of the flesh. Okay, this is a very unique kind of person that Thomas is talking about. He says that the king should look to God as his reward. Now, this paragraph here is just such classic Thomas. He says, whence happiness is called the perfect good, inasmuch as it comprises in itself all things desirable. But no earthly good is such a good. They who have riches desire to have more. They who enjoy pleasure desire to enjoy more. And the like is clear for the rest. And if they do not seek more, they at least desire that those they have should abide, or that others should follow in their stead. Isn't this the human condition? We're never satisfied. Okay, Augustine said, our hearts are restless until they rest in thee, my Lord. It's true. And so Thomas is saying this is the kind of king we need. We need a king that isn't after temporal goods or honor or glory, but desires God as the ultimate good. For nothing permanent is found in earthly things. Consequently, there is nothing earthly which can calm desire. Thus, nothing earthly can make men happy, so that it may be a fitting reward for a king. Now, what about the duties of a king? Get this. Can you imagine having a leader like this? Let the king recognize that such is the office which he undertakes, namely, that he is to be in the kingdom what the soul is in the body, and what God is in the world. If he reflects seriously upon this, a zeal for justice will be enkindled in him when he contemplates that he has been appointed to this position in place of God to exercise judgment in his kingdom. Further, he will acquire the gentleness of clemency and mildness when he considers as his own members those individuals who are subject to his rule. This is ideal for sure, but certainly it makes a lot of sense. Okay, you need one captain leading the ship to its destination. All right, so finally, the last thing at the very end of De Regno that Thomas asks is, regal government should be ordained principally to what? What should be the end game? What's the goal? What's the purpose of regal or kingly or monarch government. Now, if we were to ask honestly about our government in our country and in most democracies nowadays, what are they trying to secure for people? I would say prosperity, wealth, financial stability, 401ks are doing well, retirement and welfare in some cases, right? That's a big deal. Nothing wrong with those things, but that's kind of what we emphasize. We want a strong military. We want to feel protected. We want to know that the enemies are not going to destroy us, which again, it's a good thing. In our culture today, there's a big emphasis on equality. Everybody is equal. Everybody's, justice and right. And again, not bad in and of itself. And also we want education. We want our kids to receive the best education so they can grow up to be doctors and lawyers and, whatever, and achieve worldly success. This is not the direction that St. Thomas Aquinas goes. He says the regal government should be ordained principally to eternal beatitude. Okay, eternal beatitude is God. God is our beatitude. Therefore, since the beatitude of heaven is the end of that virtuous life which we live at present, it pertains to the king's office to promote the good life of the multitude in such a way as to make it suitable for the attainment of heavenly happiness. Isn't this awesome? That is to say, he should command those things which lead to the happiness of heaven, and as far as possible, forbid the contrary. Okay, this is a king, this is a monarch who isn't looking for the temporal good of the people of his country, of his subjects, so to speak. He's looking for their eternal reward, their eternal beatitude. This is awesome, and this is not something we're used to in governments today, and maybe Thomas is saying we need to take a look at the possibility there. All right, so what is the best form of government according to St. Thomas Aquinas in his book De Regno? None other than a monarchy. And of course, it seems ideal, and you might say, well, no such man exists, but Thomas seemed to believe that such a man exists, and I think if you look through history, there have been examples of very godly, not perfect, but godly men who have ruled over countries. And Thomas says that this is the best form of government. It is a monarchy or a king. God bless you. Thank you for watching.